Many people have heard of China's monumental Three Gorges Dam, a megastructure with an impressive capacity of 22.5 gigawatts, capable of producing up to 112 terawatt-hours of electricity annually. But fewer people know that the dam was so powerful it even affected Earth itself. The massive redistribution of water slightly altered the planet's moment of inertia, increasing the length of a day by around 60 billionths of a second. While that might seem like a negligible change, it's an extraordinary feat for a man-made structure. Still, the reign of the Three Gorges Dam, as China's most impressive hydroelectric project, may soon come to an end. Deep in the heart of the Tibetan Plateau, China is now constructing a new power plant that dwarfs it in scale and ambition. This new project could potentially generate enough electricity to power the entire United Kingdom. However, not everyone is excited. While China stands to benefit from this project's massive energy output, downstream countries like India and Bangladesh are left to contend with the environmental and geopolitical risks. To understand the implications of this project, we first need to appreciate Tibet's role in Asia's water system. Though it appears on maps as a desolate plateau, Tibet is actually the aquatic heart of the continent. The region is home to the headwaters of many of Asia's largest and most vital rivers, the Yangtze, Mekong, Salween, Irrawaddy, Indus, Sutlej, and most importantly in this case, the Yarlung Tsongpa, which becomes the Brahmaputra once it flows into India. Tibet's ability to feed these rivers comes from its unique geography. With glaciers, high levels of precipitation, and an average altitude of over 4,000 meters, about 2.5 miles, above sea level, the region effectively acts like a giant natural water tower. During summer, snow and ice melt feeds the rivers. In winter, runoff from glaciers continues to flow. The sheer force of gravity pulling water down from these heights creates a dream scenario for hydropower engineers. It's no surprise then that the Chinese government has long eyed Tibet as a vast, largely untapped reservoir of hydroelectric potential. By some estimates, Tibet could generate as much as 200 gigawatts of power, nearly half of China's entire installed hydropower capacity, and almost double that of the United States. But as of 2025, only around 1.7% of this potential has been harnessed. That's where the Medog hydropower station comes in. Tucked away in one of the most inaccessible parts of Tibet lies the Yarlung Tsongpa River. It begins at the Chima-Yungdung Glacier in western Tibet, flows east, and then makes a dramatic U-turn, known as the Great Bend, before plunging south through the Himalayas and into India. As the river makes this turn, it carves out the Yarlung Tsongpa Grand Canyon, considered by many to be the deepest canyon on Earth, with depths reaching up to 6,000 meters, 19,700 feet, in some areas. Over the course of this descent, the river drops thousands of meters, turning it into a concentrated force of nature. This dramatic elevation change, especially through the 50-kilometer stretch, known as the Big Bend, makes the area ideal for hydropower. Engineers have long dreamed of tapping into this natural energy, and now China is making it a reality. But the Medog hydropower station isn't just any dam. It's one of the most ambitious hydroelectric projects ever conceived. According to publicly available details, the project will involve constructing a large dam to block and regulate the river's flow. However, the real innovation lies in the underground infrastructure. Engineers plan to drill through the surrounding mountains to construct a system of tunnels, each about 20 kilometers, 12 miles long. These tunnels will divert water through the Namcha Barwa mountain range, channeling it at high pressure to drive turbines and generate electricity. This technique, which takes full advantage of the region's steep drop in elevation, could enable the plant to generate up to 60 gigawatts, nearly triple the capacity of the Three Gorges Dam. That's enough power to supply over 27 million households annually. Although Tibet itself doesn't need that much electricity, transmission lines will carry the power across China. But constructing tunnels through this kind of terrain isn't easy. The region is prone to landslides, rockfalls, and earthquakes. It's also extremely remote, with harsh weather and thin air that complicate both labor and machinery operations. Even modern tunnel boring machines will face enormous challenges, and the cost of such a massive undertaking is equally staggering. Estimates suggest the Medog project could cost up to $137 billion, roughly equal to Slovakia's entire GDP in 2023, or about 1 trillion yuan. That would make it one of the most expensive infrastructure projects in the world. Despite the cost, construction officially received approval in December 2024, and the plant is expected to start supplying power by 2033. China has successfully executed similar large-scale projects before. But this time, it's not just an engineering challenge, it's also a geopolitical powder keg. The Yarlung Tsangpa doesn't stop in China. Once it crosses into India, it becomes the Brahmaputra River, a vital source of water for millions of people in Arunachal Pradesh and Assam. The river irrigates crops, supports fisheries, provides drinking water, and is deeply tied to the livelihoods of communities throughout northeastern India. The risks here are twofold. First, there's the possibility of reduced water flow. During the dry season, when India relies heavily on glacial melt, even a slight decrease in water volume can spell disaster for crops and communities. If China withholds water for power generation or reservoir management, farmers downstream might lose their harvests. A local Assamese farmer, for example, might depend on the river to irrigate 2 17-acre paddy fields. A delay in water could ruin a third of his yield. Now multiply that impact by hundreds of thousands of farmers, and the consequences become national in scale. On the other hand, there's also the risk of sudden flooding. If China releases large volumes of water during India's dry season, it could overwhelm dams, bridges, and villages unprepared for surges. Infrastructure designed to manage predictable monsoon patterns might not survive such artificial flooding. All this concern is compounded by a lack of legal safeguards. There is currently no formal treaty between China and India governing the shared use of the Brahmaputra. This leaves India vulnerable to unilateral decisions from upstream. If the Medog plant becomes fully operational, China could effectively control the river's flow without any international oversight. India has started exploring its own countermeasures. One example is the proposed Upper Shang hydropower plant. Located near the Sino-Indian border, this dam is designed to regulate flow within Indian territory, either storing excess water in the case of floods or releasing reserves during dry months. While that may sound like a smart strategy, it also creates new tensions. Downstream communities are worried about their water being further delayed or diverted. Two dams on the same river, controlled by rival powers, only complicate an already delicate situation. But the story doesn't end with India. Bangladesh also lies downstream, receiving the Brahmaputra after it flows through Assam. If water flow is reduced, Bangladesh suffers the same consequences: crop failures, water shortages, and economic hardship. Worse, if India chooses to divert more water upstream to compensate for China's actions, even less will be left for Bangladesh. This potential cascade of scarcity is why Bangladesh, too, may soon take a more vocal role in advocating for regional cooperation on river management. In the end, China's Medog project represents both the power and peril of modern engineering. It promises huge benefits in clean energy, helping China move closer to its carbon neutrality goals. But it also brings serious risks to millions of people in neighboring countries. The Yarlung Tsangpa may start in the glaciers of Tibet, but its fate, and the fate of those who rely on it, will depend on what happens at Medog. New York City, especially Manhattan, is one of the busiest places on Earth. Every day, it feels like one long, non-stop traffic jam. According to 2025 data, more than 700,000 vehicles flood into downtown Manhattan daily. And as if that wasn't enough, one of the region's most critical transportation links, the aging rail tunnel connecting New Jersey to Manhattan, is teetering on the edge of failure. Many commuters are counting down the days until it finally gives out. This tunnel, part of a pair called the North River Tunnels, still carries traffic beneath the Hudson River, but it's frequently shut down due to accidents or technical issues, worsening already unbearable delays. Fortunately, relief may finally be on the way. On both sides of the Hudson, a colossal infrastructure project is underway. It's a $16 billion mega project, one of the most ambitious and necessary undertakings in modern U.S. history. If successful, it will save the Northeast's crumbling rail network from disaster and help transform daily life for hundreds of thousands of commuters. To understand the urgency, you need to look below the river. The current tunnels, known as the North River Tunnels, were completed in 1910, more than 110 years ago. Built during an era when tunnel boring technology was still in its infancy, these tunnels were dug mostly by hand using primitive shields. There was no automation, no modern safety standards. Workers toiled in high-pressure environments to prevent river water from flooding in, often suffering from decompression sickness in the process. No one could have imagined what Manhattan would become in the century to follow. Today, it's one of the most densely populated places in the world, with 1.7 million people living on just 23 square miles. It's also one of the biggest business hubs globally, attracting a tidal wave of daily commuters from other boroughs and neighboring states. It's home to Wall Street, Central Park, the Empire State Building, and Times Square. But the infrastructure that supports this vibrant metropolis hasn't kept pace. The North River tunnels were never designed to handle 24 heavily loaded trains per hour during rush hour. The real breaking point came in 2012. Hurricane Sandy, the largest Atlantic hurricane ever recorded by diameter, slammed into the East Coast. With winds extending more than 1,100 miles, the storm shut down airports, forced evacuations, and flooded tunnels. For the first time in history, both North River tunnels were completely underwater. Salt water destroyed electrical systems, corroded wires, cracked concrete walls, and overwhelmed drainage infrastructure. Though repairs were made, the damage lingered, leading to frequent malfunctions and delays. Between 2014 and 2018, there were 85 days when delays stretched longer than 5 hours, costing commuters over 2,000 hours of lost time. That's the equivalent of a full day of severe delays every month. And it's not just about inconvenience. These tunnels connect key parts of the Northeast Corridor, a region that generates 20% of the U.S. economy. They transport over 200,000 passengers a day. If one tunnel were shut down for repairs, capacity could drop by over 60%, triggering gridlock across the region. A complete failure would be catastrophic, not just for New York, but for the entire East Coast. The solution? The Gateway Program, introduced in 2011, just 1 year before Sandy. Its centerpiece is the construction of a new Hudson River Tunnel, a modern, resilient connection to replace the century-old system. At first glance, the new tunnel might not look revolutionary. It enters and exits the river just a few blocks from the current tunnel. But beneath the surface, this project is one of the most complex and important infrastructure efforts in American history. On the New Jersey side, construction crews are already at work relocating the Tonnelle Avenue Bridge and the utilities underneath it. This massive relocation effort is paving the way for tunnel boring machines, TBMs, to begin their journey. 2 parallel tunnels will be built, each about a mile long and 25 feet in diameter, stretching from New Jersey to the edge of the Hudson River. From there, they'll pass beneath the riverbed and emerge on Manhattan's West Shore. Unlike the hand-dug tunnels of 1910, today's TBMs are 30 feet tall, over 330 feet long, and can dig through more than 33,000 cubic feet of rock each day. Once the tunnels are bored, cross passages will be built between them for safety and emergency access. Reinforced lining and advanced waterproofing systems will ensure the new tunnels can withstand both daily wear and future disasters. A special vertical shaft on the New Jersey side will be used to retrieve the TBMs once they've completed their work. That shaft will later be converted into a ventilation system for the tunnel. Construction under the river is scheduled to begin once prep work wraps up on the Jersey side in 2025. From there, workers will advance toward Manhattan. While the New Jersey section of the tunnel will stretch faster, building under Manhattan poses unique challenges. The 700-foot stretch of tunnel on this side must pass through a tight maze of underground cables, pipes, and structures, all without disturbing them. The route also cuts through old fill material, including buried debris, archaeological objects, and even remnants of the old West Side Highway. Because the space is so constrained, traditional TBMs won't work efficiently. Instead, contractors will use a tunnel shield, a protective frame that allows workers to dig while minimizing disruption. A vertical access shaft will also be built in Manhattan. Once the TBMs reach the island, this shaft will allow them to be removed and later serve as another ventilation facility. There's one more hurdle: the Hudson River's soft, silted bed. It's too unstable to support tunneling without intervention. So in May 2024, crews began injecting cement slurry into the riverbed, mixing it with the soil to create a stable platform for tunnel boring. This soil stabilization process will continue through 2027. Once completed, it will provide the foundation for safe and environmentally sound construction beneath the river. The Gateway Program aims to complete the new tunnels by 2035. That includes both portals, the underwater section, and all safety systems. Once operational, traffic will shift from the old tunnels to the new route, freeing up the North River tunnels for a long overdue renovation. Each of the old tunnels will be closed for more than a year to undergo a complete transformation. Outdated ballasted tracks will be replaced with modern systems. Fire safety, electrical, and communication networks will be rebuilt from the ground up. Damaged concrete will be repaired and new drainage systems installed to guard against future floods. This reconstruction is expected to last 3 years and wrap up by 2038. Only then will New York and New Jersey have a fully modern 4-tunnel connection across the Hudson. Once completed, the new tunnel system promises to be a game changer. Commuters will experience fewer delays. Trains will run more frequently. Traffic congestion will ease as more people choose rail over driving. And that's a big deal. According to the 2023 Global Traffic Scorecard, New York City ranked as the most congested city in the world. In Manhattan, average speeds during morning rush hour dropped to just 11 miles per hour in early 2024. The average driver lost 101 hours sitting in traffic in 2023 alone. Shifting more commuters onto trains isn't just good for traffic, it's good for the economy. Congestion costs the city $9.1 billion annually in lost productivity. Meanwhile, the Gateway program is expected to inject $19.6 billion into the economy through construction jobs, new infrastructure, and long-term efficiency. Even the preliminary work has been a major investment, $190 million for stabilizing soil under the Hudson and $35 million just to relocate the Tonnelle Avenue Bridge. Beyond the numbers, there's something more important: peace of mind. The complete tunnel shutdown during Hurricane Sandy proved how vulnerable the system really is. The new tunnel is being built with resilience at its core, designed to survive whatever the next century might bring. More than 100 years ago, workers dug the original tunnels with grit and rudimentary tools, laying the groundwork for a transportation network that transformed the Northeast. Now a new generation is building the future, this time with advanced technology, precise engineering, and a renewed sense of urgency. Once complete, the new Hudson River tunnels won't just carry trains. They'll carry the entire region forward, faster, safer, and more reliably than ever before. The deserts of Nevada and Arizona have long defied expectations. In places where nothing but sand once stretched to the horizon, modern cities have risen from the dust. Las Vegas, the glittering jewel of Nevada, was born in the heart of the Mojave Desert. To the southeast, Phoenix emerged in the Sonoran Desert, growing into one of America's largest cities. Both of these urban centers now boast populations exceeding 1 million, and they're still expanding. It might seem like there's no more room for new projects in these arid landscapes, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Not long ago, a massive infrastructure development began taking shape in southern Nevada, right in the harsh Mojave terrain. Bulldozers, cranes, and explosives reshaped the earth. Hundreds of workers toiled under the blistering sun, all working toward a single goal: to build a new highway system that would stretch all the way to Phoenix, Arizona. Why? To better connect the two states, and more specifically, to tie their major cities together with an efficient, modern road system. But this isn't just a story about highways. It's about booming populations, expanding economies, and a critical piece of infrastructure that could change how people and goods move across the American Southwest. From 2010 to 2020, both Nevada and Arizona experienced major population booms. Nevada's population jumped nearly 15%, reaching 3.1 million. Arizona saw similar growth, rising by about 12% to 7.1 million. Along with the people came goods, and lots of them. Every year, roughly $144 billion worth of cargo passes through Nevada. Arizona handles even more, over $330 billion annually. These figures are expected to rise steeply over the coming decades. By 2050, Nevada's freight volume could increase by 55%. Arizona's might double by 2045. Two cities are driving much of this: Las Vegas and Phoenix. Acting as regional hubs, they serve as both final destinations and key layovers for people and products moving across the region. Some researchers even refer to Las Vegas, Phoenix, and Los Angeles as forming a growth triangle, a cluster of cities that are growing rapidly in both population and economic activity. Naturally, all this movement requires a solid transportation network. And in the U.S., that means highways, specifically the Interstate Highway System, a nationwide network launched during the presidency of Dwight D. Eisenhower. Built for both defense and transportation, this system spans over 46,000 miles and connects virtually every major city in the country. Interstate highways are held to strict design standards: multiple lanes in each direction, divided traffic flows, controlled access via ramps and interchanges, and no railroad crossings or traffic lights. This design improves both speed and safety, making them essential for long-distance travel and cargo transportation. On the East Coast, densely populated areas are woven together by a web of interstates. The same is largely true for the West, except for one glaring exception. There's no direct interstate connection between Las Vegas and Phoenix. The two cities, despite being only about 300 miles apart, are linked by U.S. Route 93, a highway plagued with problems. Between 2010 and 2016 alone, over 90 fatal accidents occurred along US 93. The stretch between Wickenburg and the Hoover Dam is considered particularly hazardous. Emergency response times in this area are among the worst in the region. And there are structural issues as well. Traffic lights, intersections, narrow two-lane sections, and dangerous bottlenecks all make the highway less efficient and less safe than an interstate standard road. Recognizing these issues, planners proposed something bold: build a new interstate highway, Interstate 11 or I-11 for short, to replace and upgrade the current route. Signs for I-11 have already begun appearing in both Nevada and Arizona. But this is about much more than new signage. It's about constructing a safe, modern, four-lane highway with overpasses, interchanges, wide shoulders, and fully separated traffic. Importantly, I-11 isn't just about local traffic. It's also part of a larger vision, the Canamex Corridor, a proposed trade route running from Canada to Mexico through the U.S. The corridor is meant to streamline cross-border trade and bolster economic integration between the three countries. But there's a problem. Currently, the weakest link in this chain is right between Nevada and Arizona. Rather than build I-11 entirely from scratch, an approach that would have been enormously expensive, engineers opted for a hybrid method: upgrade parts of the existing US 93 and build new segments where needed. One such challenge emerged in Boulder City, Nevada. Upgrading the section of US 93 that runs through the town would have caused major disruptions and required extensive demolitions. The solution? A bypass. In 2015, construction began on a new 15-mile stretch of highway skirting around Boulder City. Workers dug up vast quantities of desert sand and blasted through rock. Specialized equipment carved a modern road into Mojave. It wasn't just a logistical feat, it was also an environmental challenge. During construction, crews discovered naturally occurring asbestos in the soil, a known carcinogen. To protect workers and nearby residents, the team conducted over 14,000 air quality tests and implemented strict safety protocols. Despite the hurdles, the bypass opened in August 2018. It marked the first completed segment of I-11 and offered immediate relief to traffic previously clogging Boulder City. The opening ceremony was held at a scenic overlook with views of Lake Mead and the brand new highway. Since then, Nevada has continued extending the I-11 route. Starting in 2024, the Nevada Department of Transportation began rebranding other highways, like I-515 and parts of US 95, with I-11 signage. The goal is to eventually stretch the highway all the way to I-80 in northern Nevada, forming a continuous corridor through the state. Arizona, meanwhile, has also been working on its piece of the puzzle, though progress has been slower. Since 2000, Arizona has spent around $500 million to widen portions of US 93 to 4 lanes. Yet, many parts of the route between Phoenix and Las Vegas still don't meet interstate standards. Intersections remain, slowing traffic and compromising safety. The bigger challenge for Arizona is building I-11 all the way from Wickenburg, just northwest of Phoenix, down to Nogales, a key border town connecting the U.S. to Mexico. This southern portion of the project hasn't even broken ground yet, and environmental concerns are a major roadblock. During the environmental review process, 2 main routes were proposed, a western corridor and an eastern one. The western route avoids dense urban areas and passes through more undeveloped land. But that creates new problems. It runs close to Ironwood Forest National Monument, an area home to the world's densest ironwood tree population. It's also a habitat for desert bighorn sheep, tortoises, javelinas, and dozens of other species. Critics worry that building a highway through this area would fragment ecosystems, isolate wildlife populations, and increase roadkill incidents. The route could also impact nearby Saguaro National Park, famous for its towering cacti and delicate desert balance. And then there's water. In this arid region, groundwater is life. Opponents argue that road construction could contaminate underground aquifers that supply drinking water and irrigation to surrounding communities, including indigenous lands. The eastern route is more favorable to environmental groups. It focuses on upgrading existing highways, I-10 and I-19, with minimal new construction. The upside? Less ecological damage. The downside? These routes pass through developed neighborhoods, meaning homes and businesses may be torn down. And because there aren't many alternate roads, detours during construction could paralyze traffic. In some ways, this could defeat the entire purpose of building a faster route. For now, construction in Arizona is on hold. The environmental impact studies need to be redone, and public opposition remains strong. Yet the potential benefits of I-11 are enormous. A completed corridor could revolutionize trade between Mexico and the U.S., strengthen supply chains, and finally connect Phoenix and Las Vegas with a fast, safe highway. Even in Nevada, where construction has progressed further, there were environmental concerns. The Boulder Bypass, for example, passes through desert bighorn sheep territory. To reduce collisions, engineers constructed 6 dedicated wildlife crossings, 5 underpasses, and 1 overpass. And it worked. In 2014, wildlife experts fitted GPS collars on 25 sheep to monitor their behavior. The animals regularly used the crossings. Other species like coyotes, mule deer, foxes, and desert tortoises followed suit. Ironically, Arizona had pioneered this idea years earlier. Wildlife crossings built during the US 93 upgrades helped reduce animal deaths dramatically. Before the crossings, about a dozen bighorn sheep were killed each year. Afterward, that number fell, and has stayed at 0 since 2014. So as Arizona looks ahead, it doesn't need to start from scratch. It already has experience, both with wildlife and with highway construction. The question is, will that experience be enough to overcome the legal, environmental, and logistical challenges standing in the way? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, as America grows, so must its infrastructure. And in the deserts of Nevada and Arizona, the future of transportation is being written in concrete and steel, 1 mile at a time.